Welcome to the BeDadly podcast, where we discuss all things dadly, from being an entrepreneur while caring for toddlers to raising screenagers and talking the birds and the bees. We're here to help you traverse the vast and dynamic landscape of fatherhood. Enjoy practical advice, lots of puns, and even a few heart-touching moments.
And the dad jokes are pretty good too.
And now your host, Brandon Jones.
All right, it's story time with Brandon Jones. I'm kidding. No, seriously, I'm not gonna do story time. But actually, I do want to tell you a little bit about my personal journey as a father. I want you to kind of get to know me as a person and hear a little bit about, my story. So if you know, I have a child named Sheldon. He is my oldest son. He is now 16 years old. Mind blown. I can't believe it. And I know you're looking at me going, how does that young guy have a 16-year-old? And thank you. But I actually do have a 16-year-old. And how? Well, let's see. There's a little story about the birds and the... Anyways, I was 19 years old and I had my first son. Now, if you can imagine being a 19-year-old and having a son, I was terrified, like with all caps, terrified. I barely knew how to take care of myself, and here I was expected to take care of a child. It was really challenging because his mother and I were separated. It posed even more challenges and actually ended up having to move because of work. And so I ended up moving to a completely different state, which made things even more challenging. I would come and visit him basically as often as I could afford to and as often as possible. But one of the challenges was we just didn't get enough time together, and I really didn't get a chance to create a really strong connection with him. Now, at 5 years old, I got a phone call. And it was from his mother, and she said, I need you to come pick up your son. I can't care for him anymore. And I was like, what? And she said, he's been expelled from school in kindergarten. Didn't even know that was possible. And there's only one school in our town. I can't move, and I don't exactly know what to do here, so can you please come get our son? I need you to try to help him. He needs his father. I was actually really excited about the opportunity. For years, I had wanted to spend time with him, but I either A, couldn't afford to, or B, whenever I would come up there, I could only stay for short periods of time, and C, I didn't really want to live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or in that general area. And so I really struggled to get time with him. So I was actually really excited about the opportunity. Now, when he first came to live with me, he actually called me Brandon. Didn't even call me Dad because, well, he didn't know me as Dad. I say that to tell you that I had a lot of ground to have to make up for. And on top of that, my son was unfortunately a little bit of a challenge. He was very defiant. He needed a lot of attention. He had an enormous amount of energy. Bless his little heart, he just struggled. Struggled in school, struggled with caregivers. I had people that were babysitting him when he was really little that were basically telling me, I can't care for your son. He's way too out of control. I would get phone calls from the school all the time that they would tell me, I'm sorry, but you need to come pick up your son. He's not having a good day. I would talk to the principals and we'd have like meetings about him where we tried to talk about like plans for how can we help this child acclimate himself into a school environment and just belong with the other children and actually allow the teacher to teach her lesson. There were a lot of these challenges. I was at the school probably 3 days a week where I was having to pick him up early and having to leave work. I was talking to the teacher every single day. And I was having a meeting with the principal about every other week. What did I do with these challenges? When my son was misbehaving, what was I doing? Just nothing? Was I sitting around, being like, all right, son, it's okay that you went to school and today you cut a girl's ponytail off or you peed in the corner of the bathroom. Those things did happen, by the way. No, I wasn't permissive in saying it was okay. I was actually extremely strict. I was a very heavy disciplinarian. He would get grounding, timeouts. I would unfortunately yell because I was so frustrated. I even resorted at some points to spanking him. And to be honest, the reason I did that is because, well, that's what happened to me. That's the kind of discipline that I was raised with. And when you're a parent and you don't really know how to help your child, you just resort back to what you what your parents did for you. So I inherited some really old tactics. Love you, mom and dad, but you also know what I'm talking about. I mean, these are some old and ineffective strategies for getting good behavior from your child. I'm talking the groundings, the yellings, the timeouts, the spankings, taking away the games, the toys. But I can tell you from experience, when you have a very challenging child, none of those work. So I had to figure it out. I had to figure out, how can I get my son to behave, and what kind of strategies do I need in order to help him do so? And that led me to reading a lot of books. It started off with Parenting with Love and Logic. I was literally going to the index and I would look up the behavior he was doing, and I would read as quickly as possible this short, couple pages on that topic, and then go try to implement it. Now, this was huge because actually one of the first tools I used, it worked so well, I realized, oh my gosh, I need more strategies like this. I need more tools like this. I'll save the story for another video of what that tool was and how I used it, but I can tell you it was so effective that it literally revolutionized the way I felt about parenting. The reason is that if you have spanked your child, grounded your child, taken away toys, and even yelled, and you're still not getting a behavior change, but then you use a tool where you don't do any of that. There's no yelling, there's no spanking, there's none of that, and they change their behavior, it's like, oh, it literally feels like angels are surrounding you, and you've now hit the mother lode for parenting. Now, unfortunately, that tool worked well for one specific thing. It didn't work well for everything, so I had to gain more tools and more knowledge. So that led me to more books like No Drama Discipline, Positive Discipline, and Whole Brain Child, and some of the other amazing books that are on the market today. I devoured these books. I had to read them as quickly as possible because I had to make up for so much lost time. I didn't have a strong connection with my child, and my child was really misbehaving. Later, I ended up also doing a lot of therapy. The therapy that I did, the family therapy and then personal therapy, led me to some more insights about child psychology, parent bonding, and understanding what really creates the foundation for respect and connection with our children and helps their self-esteem. Now, I'm happy to report that today Sheldon actually has incredible grades, and he's also taken an initiative to get himself a job. He enrolled himself into football. He's working out 5 days a week, taking care of himself. He's respectful. He does his own laundry. He's working on learning how to drive. He's an awesome kid, and I would never have been able to be there. I can promise you, we would not be there. He may be in juvenile detention had the effort not been put in to figure out how to parent. He didn't just have to change, I had to change. I personally had to change. When I started going through these therapy sessions, I realized that me unloading on my son was actually creating more damage than good. And I signed myself up for an anger management program. I did 10 weeks of anger management. Now, most of the people in there were not in there voluntarily, but I was. And I'm saying that with like a completely vulnerable and open heart. Like, I'm telling you, I had work to do. And so a part of getting good behavior with my son wasn't just him. It's kind of like when they say, they have like a thing about training dogs, Part of training a good dog is actually training the owner, right? It's the same thing for our kids. If you want good behavior with your kids, part of it is training yourself. It's about training how you respond to your children. If you're reactive all the time and you really don't have a good strategy for the common struggles that you face, you're not going to get the kind of results you want. So, I know we only have so much time in our day, and I just want to thank you so much for taking your time to listen to my video and hear my story. I'll probably share more. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for your time and listening, and I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you've received some value from it, please share it with other dads and consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform, and we'll see you in the next episode. Looking for support with your fatherhood journey? Go to BeDadly.com and take our Dadly Disposition quiz and learn helpful insights on how you can overcome power struggles with your kids.